Hey friends, Rolf here again, Louisville ProActivist Report. Thanks for tuning in today. Please like and share this out so that everybody can see it. I've got a wonderful guest with me today. I have Jessica Smith from the Arrow Fund. And thank you for joining me today, Jessica.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out for us.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the Arrow Fund, who you are, what you do, and how you got started.
Sure. The Arrow Fund is a rescue group in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where we're based, but we do rescues statewide. So we go to all different counties across the state. Occasionally, if there has been, some sort of tragedy or something out of state, sometimes we'll help with those, but we like to primarily keep based in Kentucky. The Arrow Fund got started by our founder, Rebecca Eves, a very passionate advocate for animal rights. And she was alerted to a dog in eastern Kentucky that had been shot at close range with an arrow and was just kind of out wandering around in eastern Kentucky. And so at that time, there were really no organizations around that really dealt with kind of severe injuries, severe abuse, severe neglect, problems such as that. So Rebecca essentially got the Arrow Fund up and off the ground running by raising funds for this black lab who was eventually named Aiden. He was treated by specialists and is now in a lovely home, doing great. And that's our goal. That's our goal with all of our animals. Is number one goal of the Arrow Fund is to rehabilitate victims of extreme torture, abuse, and neglect. We take a lot of very difficult cases that I would say, are not the easy ones. They're costly. There's a long rehabilitation road, but animals that suffer from something like that really deserve that effort, really deserve a turnaround in a good life. Just a couple examples. We had a dog named Cello that we took that was shot, gun close range to the head, had its tail removed by somebody, and we took Cello. It was a very long rehabilitation process, both physical and emotional. We work with an excellent trainer who works with some of the emotional issues that the dogs face after that. And she is now in a lovely home. Like I said, the people, we found an excellent fit for her. They treat her like a princess. We also had, who's kind of our earmark dog, he's kind of the face of the Arrow Fund now, is Frodo, who was a pit bull that was found attached to a fence, basically tied up to a fence. He had his muzzle duct taped shut. He had over 100 bite wounds on him. He had broken rear leg. He had severe injuries to one of his front legs, and was suspected a dog from a fight ring, a fighting setup. And so Frodo had to have his back leg amputated. I said amputated. And he is now with our founder, with Rebecca. She adopted him, so that's his permanent home. But those are an overview of some of the cases that we take, which involve, specialists in Louisville. We work with a lot of specialty clinics. We work with oncologists, dermatologists, neurologists. It's not just going into your standard vet facility. It's a lot of care, but they deserve it after going through something like that.
Absolutely. And what kind of animals do you like to help? Is it just dogs, or do you branch out?
Yeah, we take mainly domestic. We take dogs, we take cats. We have taken a pig, who is currently being fostered by one of our animal intake committee members. So mainly those are the main type of animals you see us take in and work with.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how did you get involved with the Arrow Fund?
I was on Facebook and I saw one of the Arrow Fund's posts. They have a pretty good presence on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I saw a post, and it was a picture of a dog that was at Louisville Metro, who we have a good working relationship with. And it said, we really want to take this dog. but we don't have any medical fosters right now, and we can't pull the dog without a place to place it. And I guess I should step back. With the Arrow Fund, we're alerted to an animal. If we take the animal, we take it in, and if it needs medical treatment, if it's going to need prolonged medical treatment, we usually look for somebody who can foster it medically, who can take it into their house, take care of it, make sure it gets to the vet visits, working with our animal teams. And so that's kind of a different process than just a normal foster. And so I didn't know what I was getting into, but the dog was adorable. It was at the time named Blake by the Arrow Fund. Now, since I'm a foster fail, he's now mine, and his name is Oscar, and he's an amazing dog, Chow Husky mix, just sweetest dog. But I called and said, I'm willing to foster this dog. Here's my information. I have a house. I have a fenced backyard. I live 5 minutes from work. Hopefully, maybe it'll be a good fit. And the president called me about 5 minutes after getting my email and said, if you can do this, well, yes, that would be great. So I went to the vet's office, picked him up. He had a cast on his front leg. He had been hit by a car or something. He had a very severe wound to his front leg that required a lot of work, and he had heartworms, which is a long process to get through. If you've ever had a dog that has heartworms or been around one, they have to have a lot of treatments. They have to essentially be crate rest. And so it was a long process. We had some ups and downs throughout it, meaning he had some setbacks medically and had to go back into the doctor's office a couple times. But he's been an amazing dog. You can tell, has suffered some sort of trauma. He's terrified of small spaces. He's terrified of bathrooms. You take him in a bathroom and he tucks his tail and shakes. So something happened there. But he's an excellent dog. He's sweet as can be. I have a toddler and a newborn, and they are excellent with him. Education is one of the Arrow Fund's goals, and we try to educate kids to be good with animals, how to interact with their animals. And so they're wonderful with him, but he is wonderful with them. So.
Nice. Now, I ask everybody that comes on here, about the inspiration aspect. So, with you have another career. I know you're probably pretty busy, but yet you still take time out beside that, to help with the Arrow Fund. Yeah. So, have you always been an animal person? What made you choose to kind of put your time towards animals and maybe not another cause?
Sure. Yes, I've always been an animal person. I've always had animals since I was a little kid. And I've always had a soft spot for animals, because I think, apart from children, they truly are some of the most innocent creatures, meaning animals are not inherently bad. It's usually what they've been through or things people have put them through. So our goal, I think the Arrow Fund is a way to find those animals who have had those bad experiences but are good animals and try to turn it around for them. And that's what appeals to me about the Arrow Fund. And I think Karen Mitchell, who used to be involved with our organization, said it very well one time. She said, I was tired of looking at Facebook and seeing all these sad animal stories and not doing anything about it. Because so often some of the stories are horrible, they're tragic, they're sad, and people, I have friends that will say, I just had to not look at that. I can't look at that, it makes me cry. But just because it makes you cry doesn't mean it's still not happening.
Right.
And so that was my big push to really get involved with the Arrow Fund, was, like Karen said, I'm tired of seeing this stuff and not doing anything about it, and being sad about it and not doing something about it. So that was kind of the passion part that drove me into getting involved with the organization.
Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit. So here in Kentucky, now are how do I phrase this? Do all of the cases you take, are they just kind of random causes? Or are there issues in the state that our animals are facing?
Sure. Well, two of the most recent intakes that we've taken were suspected dog fight victims. One of the ones we took recently, had numerous indicators of dog fighting, teeth ground down to where you can't bite back, numerous lacerations, scars. One of the dogs, has massive damage to one ear where it looks kind of like it was taken off. My mother has an old bait dog from a dog fighting ring that she adopted, and there's certain indicators, and those are, her dog has those indicators as well. Tons of old scars, old wounds, missing an ear, things like that. So that is one of the cases that we see frequently. For example, Frodo that I talked about earlier.
Now, how prevalent do you think dog fighting is here in Kentucky?
Oh, I think it's prevalent. I think it is prevalent.
In Louisville as well, or
I don't know
rural?
about in Louisville. We see some of these dogs come from more rural areas. Certain areas of the state, I would say. I don't want to just call anybody out. But certain areas we see it more so than others. Kentucky is 50 out of 50 in animal protection legislation. We're the lowest of the low when it comes to the 50 states. At legislation, at least, that protects these animals. Hopefully that'll change. It's hard because we are a state that is so built on farming, horse racing, hunting to a certain degree. And so a lot of legislators look at that with an eye to how can this legislation, even though it's geared to help maybe domestic animals, how can this affect my sphere of this? And so it's hard to get stuff passed here. But that said, I do think dogfighting is one that we see quite a bit of. A lot of them we see emaciation cases, cases where people just don't care, or just not taking care of the animal. We see a lot of dumping cases where people for whatever reason that still is beyond me, if their dog has puppies or something like that, they just take them and dump them in a box somewhere, in the woods. And hopefully, as was one of our cases, a Good Samaritan is just happens to be out in the woods or hiking and hears these animals that otherwise would never make it,
right.
And brings them to us. And so it's a variety of things that we see. But as far as like issues that maybe it can be traced to in the state, I do think the state needs harder and harsher laws against individuals that harm, torture animals. You would think that would be pretty basic, but it's not.
Right.
And I really hope to see that change sometime in my lifetime.
And I was actually going to talk about that a little bit later, but since we're already there,
Sure.
Is there any kind of state legislation or national legislation that you have your eye on that you'd like to see passed?
Well, I mean, last year, I believe it was last year, we worked really hard to have the bestiality bill passed, which kind of dealt with, obviously, what bestiality is.
Right.
So that was a step forward as far as state legislation is concerned. The news has been really prevalent with this Donald Trump signing the legislation to make it a federal crime, basically, for certain animal abuses. Now, when you look at that, yes, that helps. That is limited to crimes that occur on federal land or kind of crimes that occur in interstate transactions. So it is a little bit limited there, but I think it sends a message in the right direction, and hopefully sends a message to individual states in the right direction that this is something that's serious, that even the federal government is trying to look at maybe cracking down on a little bit. Because honestly, and I know everybody hears this, there is a correlation between animal abuse of people, crime in the long run. I mean, I'm a lawyer, trust me. I know people do the domino effect argument, but there is actually data that supports that. So,
all right. Any other legislation we need to know about or anything?
Not off the top of my head right now. Every single one of our goals, one of the Arrow Fund's earmark goals is advocacy, and one of the things we do is get involved, with the state legislature. We do work with a lot of other groups in passing certain legislation. If we see something that we really think is a hole, a loophole, something of that nature, we really press with other groups to try to go to Frankfurt, let the legislators know, try to get it passed through. There are a few things that we're in the process of drafting and working with other groups for this coming session, but those aren't finalized to my knowledge as of this moment. So
okay. When they are, feel free to let me know, and I'll share that out. So,
yeah, I would love to, I would love to get back with you and do any updates on legislation.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So we were talking earlier off camera about kind of, is it the 5 tenets of the Arrow Fund? So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Our number one tenet is always rehabilitation. You know, we get these animals in, a lot of them, like I said, are extreme torture, abuse, neglect. They've got a lot of physical scars and they've got a lot of emotional scars. So our goal is always to get the animal in, have it assessed properly by usually specialists. You know, we work a lot here in town with Blue Pearl is one of the specialty clinics, Metro vets. We take the animal in, we have it assessed. And then we work out a plan. What's the medical plan moving forward? How is the best way to do this? And then the next step would be finding a medical foster when it's ready to go to a medical foster. After that, it might stay with the medical foster as its interim foster, or it might go to a different foster who, once its medical issues are done, that they can be with, you know, kind of normal foster situation. And then when it's ready for adoption, then we try to get it paired with the best person to pair it with. We have a lot of foster fails, medical and just normal foster fails. Not all, but we do, and that's not a bad thing.
Say, if you're ever going to fail in life, foster fail is the fail to go for,
that's
right?
the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm one, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. The other thing is advocacy. Obviously, we, like we just talked about, we try to stay on top of legislation, work with other groups, work with lobbyists, things like that, to try to push through, I guess, legislation that would be crack down on some of the things that we see on a daily basis. Education. We apply for grants. We work with, we try to do educational programs for children to teach them how the best way is to interact with animals, to also show them kind of what abuse looks like. Not the really severe in your face cases, but, you know, try to make them aware that, you know, this is an animal that has been abused and this is how they've turned it around. And so we do try to work with those educational programs. The fourth would be prosecution. Anytime we get an animal in, we try to document everything, get all the information we can on it. Our vets will document everything that happens with the animal, everything that they see. We will work with the prosecutor's office to get them anything that they need. We sometimes will pool with other groups to put money together for information leading to arrest and prosecution. It's hard, you know, it's these cases are hard to see, and some of the prosecutions don't always go through the way we want them to. Some of them settle out. So that is a difficult thing to see because these animals deserve justice. I mean, some of the things that happen to them you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy, and so it's tough. But that is definitely one of the other tenets that we really focus on. And public awareness is the last one. We want to make the public aware of what's going on in Kentucky as far as what abuse happens, how they can get involved, how they can help. And so, you know, keeping it at the forefront of the media, I think, is very important, especially in a state that is 50 out of 50. I mean, right. You've got to keep saying this is why we're 50 out of 50, and they deserve better. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of our core tenets of our organization.
Okay, yeah, it sounds great. So what are you all currently working on? Do you have any projects coming up or anything?
This weekend, the 8th, we actually have an event at our office, which is 1000 Envoy Circle here in Louisville, where the public can come. They have pictures with Santa for dogs. They have things you can buy to support the organization, wreaths and things that are made, dog ugly sweater contest. And then we have some of our adoptable pets there that people can go and interact with. One thing that I do want to say about the Arrow Fund, because I think this is a big deal when it comes to animal rescue, is it's very much a team effort with our organization. And I say that because I think sometimes people looking at an animal rescue group say, I don't know how I could get involved with that. I don't know what I could bring to the table. I don't know. Anybody that can bring anything to the table, please, if you want to get involved with us. We have all ranges of people that work in all different areas for the Arrow Fund. We have our executive board that basically kind of, does kind of the interworkings behind the scene. We have, financial people that help to assess the vet bills and do the accounting with the vets and things like that. We have animal intake committee who are fabulous that, assess animals, assess cases, bring the animals in, arrange transportation, check up on the animals constantly at the vet's office, deal with the vets. We have an adoption consultant that is fantastic that works with getting fosters, getting adoptions finalized, and getting those out. We have volunteer coordinators that work with people to come to events, staff a booth, at one of our events. We have tech people that get messages out to the media and the public. So this organization is very much a team effort and a group effort, and I would encourage anybody, if you want to get involved, we will find a spot for you. we will find a spot that you can help us on, because everybody that's there is there 100% for the animals and just wants to bring whatever skills they have to the table to make the organization grow and flourish and help as many animals as we possibly can.
Nice. And I do love it when guests answer my next question before I even ask it. So awesome. Now, I may be mistaken about this, but are you all currently working on like a new facility?
Yes. Yes, we are. That's kind of the goal that we're looking at. So the Arrow Fund, we have an office. We have an office space where we keep all of our supplies, donations we get and things like that. But we don't have our own facility yet. And so we have been fundraising for that facility. What we typically do is when we get an animal in, they're either at the vet's office, and then when they're medically cleared, they can go to a home. Or sometimes we have animals that need to be trained. They need to be in training with our trainer before they can even go to a foster or can go to a permanent home. And again, that deals with some more of the emotional issues that they face. Any sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it aggression factors, but like food aggression. How do we phase this out before we feel comfortable adopting them out? And so the facility would help us do things like that, meaning we could keep the animals in our facility with our trainer to come in and do that, rather than having to, keep them in other facilities while they're working on training. The goal, every organization dreams of having a facility, because we feel like if we have one, we can help that many more animals, because everything's kind of within house, and so we can alleviate some of the cost. So that's the goal. We've had a lot of really great matching donations. We have a fund kind of earmarked for it, and so it's going to be a little bit of a process over time. But yes, that is definitely our goal is to finalize a facility. Going back to one other thing, I know kind of the question that always comes is kind of what does the organization need? Is there any needs that the organization has? I know organizations always say donations, obviously, that's how we function. But one of the biggest needs we have right now, and I do want to convey this, is fosters. Fosters is a huge thing. Fosters is the way we get to the next case, because if we don't have somewhere to place the animal, we can't move forward. Fosters for big dogs are hard. And my dog, trust me, I medically fostered Oscar, and Oscar is an 80-pound Chow Husky mix,
Okay.
that has a what do you call it, tumbleweeds of fur rolling across. If you look at my pants right now, it's covered in white fur. But that would be something that, if that's at the top of our Christmas list, it's at the top of our Christmas list. And again, I would encourage anybody, if they have a place in their home, or if they have even an inkling of a desire, maybe I could be a foster, maybe I could do it. We would love for you to foster. Now, our fosters do have to generally be in the Louisville metro area, just because most of our specialists and our vets are in this area. So to keep up with, especially medical care, that's something that we need to, work with people on. But I encourage anybody to do it. It's a great experience. I mean, I could not say enough for fostering Oscar. There's always, the high days and the low days, medically speaking, but you go through all of them with him, and he is just, I can't even emphasize what an amazing dog he is, after having been through the things that he's been through.
Now, for anybody that wants to foster or donate to help you run on a day-to-day basis, or even help build a facility or lease a facility, or even volunteer, let people know how they can find you.
Yeah, go online. It's thearrowfund.org. You can contact us on that. You can donate on that. You can ask questions on that. You can see our animals that are available for adoption. You can fill out a foster application. You can fill out adoption applications. And you'll see a list of all of our events. So if you want to come out, meet some members of our team, see what we're about, talk to people. There's a huge list of all of our events that are upcoming on there, and we do a lot of events. And so we would encourage anybody to come out and see us and talk to us and get involved.
And any social media sites as well?
Yeah, we do, but I got to get my list because it's really long. Hold on. We have a lot. We have a Facebook page, and that's the Arrow Fund. And then let me give you this. Facebook.com/The Arrow Fund, YouTube /The Arrow Fund, and Twitter @The Arrow Fund.
Okay.
It's all at The Arrow Fund, but I don't want to give you the wrong information.
I understand.
So, there's only so much I can keep up there.
I understand. So is there anything that we haven't covered so far that you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, I think we've covered a lot of it. I would really encourage people to go to our website. We keep updates of the stories of all of our intakes, meaning the animals that we've taken into the organization. We have their histories. If they've been adopted, we have kind of the look where they are now stories. And I think if anybody's interested in seeing what a difference this organization can make, go to the website and look at some of the before and after cases that we've had, because I feel good going to bed at night looking at those and knowing what a difference that the Arrow Fund has made for those animals. And a lot of these animals just really, really want to be loved. The newest dog we took in that we suspect of dog fighting, as of last I heard, we hadn't got a tail wag yet or face lick yet, but she just wanted to be held. Just kind of learning to trust people again. And so it's a long road, but seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and seeing what they look like at the end and how happy they are and how interactive they are and how sweet animals they are, it's a really, really, really great feeling. And I would encourage anybody that's interested in the organization to look at that.
Well, thank you so much for what you do. For me personally, I always try to be a voice for the voiceless, people who need a voice, animals, even places. So it really touches me when I see people being a voice for someone who's voiceless. In this case, dogs and the other animals in the community.
Well, likewise, thank you for all you do, because I mean, without you, a lot of this wouldn't get out as it does.
Thank you. I'm trying to be the megaphone for everybody, so hopefully it helps. There's a lot of issues in the community, and we need people working on all of them, and I appreciate that you all are tackling one.
Thank you.
And hopefully we all move forward together as a community to just get all these issues fixed that we can. So
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Let me just wrap up for everybody. This will probably be my last show of the calendar year. My job, the schedule is so unpredictable that I can't in good faith make appointments for interviews right now. If I can on an off day, I will try to go cover an event. But otherwise, basically, I probably won't be back until next year, more than likely. So if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Smash all those buttons. Sharing is caring. I don't do this for money. We just want to get the exposure out for everybody. So please, help us out with that. Otherwise, just remember to always think critically. You all have a good night.